Yo, what's poppin' YouTube? It's your brother, the MOPOWERZ, and we are back again, this time on a terrific Tuesday afternoon. What have you been doing and how are you doing? I tell you, today is a great day. We have the last two chapters of the book entitled The World 16 Crucified Saviors here by Kersey Graves. This is a magnificent book, and we have many other books that we will be doing lives on. I will be actually doing more books, more lives, but after this book here, after today, I will be doing a lot of uploads with images and all of that good stuff. Okay? But all books will be live, okay? Anyway, I tell you, you should have learned a lot thus far. But to not keep you waiting, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. And we are in chapter 44. We've made it all the way to chapter 44. 44, 45 is done. Okay. And I've been looking at the moderation thing. They finally sent me something about a moderator. I got a moderator in mind. Yes, it's King Oz. And I just got to look over the instructions. I'll get to it later and add you as a moderator. And once again, you're watching the best social media on the planet, YouTube. Okay? But for chapter 44, which is entitled The Moral Lesson of Religious History, the most important lesson deducible from all the religious systems commemorated in history and noted in this work is that all religions' conceptions, whether in the shape of a doctrine, precept, prophecy, prayer, religious devotion, or belief in miracles, are a spontaneous outgrowth of the moral and religious elements of the human mind. And to assign them a higher origin is to ignore the developments of modern science and insult the highest intelligence of the ages. Think about that. Remember, after this book here, we'll get to it after the end of it, okay? From the elevated scientific plane occupied by the most enlightened portion of the present age, there is no difficulty in finding a satisfactory solution for every event, every occurrence, and every performance recorded in any of the numerous Bibles which have long been afloat in the world, and which have always constituted the sole basis for the claim to a divine origin of all the religious systems of the past, so that such a claim can be no longer vindicated by historically intelligent people. We have shown in this work that all of the miraculous incidents related in the history of Jesus Christ as a proof of his divinity can find a more rational explanation than that which assigns them to divine agency. Some of them are known to lie within the natural capacity of the human mind to achieve, and others are explained by recently discovered natural laws. Another class is now being well understood mentally or being a nervous phenomena. Other stories now regarded by the Christian world as referring to miraculous achievements were probably designed by the writer as a mere fable or metaphor. All of the events in Christ's history we have are susceptible of a hundredfold more rational explanation than which regards them as the feats, feats, of a God in violation of his own laws, which we went over already, okay? We have also shown that the same marvelous incidents now found incorporated in the gospel history of the Jesus Christ were related long previously as a part of the sacred history of other gods, such a being miraculously conceived with shepherds, threatened by the fear of the country ruler, being of royal lineages, receiving the same divine titles, performed the same miracles. In a word, we have shown the various heathen gods and demigods had long before Christ's advent filled the same chapter in history now reported of him in the Christian New Testament. All these stories of the heathen gods prove as conclusively as any scientific problem can be demonstrated by figures that the same stories related of Jesus Christ have no other foundation than that of the heathen tradition. Okay? And Will the Christian world then hereafter stultify their common sense by ignoring these facts of history so fatal to their claims? Past history points to an affirmative power to this question, as we will illustrate. In the early history of this country, several reports were published of showers of blood being seen to fall in some of the seacoast states, which were regarded as a divine judgment, but the use of the telescope revealed the fact that it was the ordure of butterflies, as those insects were seen at the time in vast swarms. But the devout Christian, whose faith in his religion has always proof against the demonstrations of science, would give it up. He would not accept the butterfly explanation, but continue to teach his children that it came from God out of heaven as a manifestation of displeasure toward the sin of the people. And now it remains to be seen whether Christian professors at the present day will manifest a similar folly by standing out against the demonstrated truths and facts of this work. We here cite it as the last and most sorrowful lesson of history that no facts, no proofs, no demonstrations of science can eradicate religious errors from the human mind if instilled in early life and never disturbed till the possessor arrives at a mature age or middle life, meaning that's when one has a great opportunity to wake up and not be a robot anymore and actually understands why that religious literature was given to him or her. And now, you all, we are in chapter 45. We are in 45 already. 45. We're here. Conclusion and review. Conclusion and review. In writing the concluding chapter of this work, the author deems it proper to restate some points and elaborate others and anticipate some objections to some of the positions advanced. Each division of the subject will be marked by a separate figure and treated in a brief and succinct manner as follows. Several persons who examined this work before it went to press have expressed the opinion that it must exert a powerful influence in a way of producing an entire revolution in the religion of Orthodox Christendom sooner or later. But this must, of course, be the work of time, as moral revolutions are not the work of the day, when the human system has long prostrated with a chronic disease. No system of medication can restore it once to health. The same principle governing the mind makes it morally impossible to eradicate the deeply seated moral and religious errors in a day by even the presentation of the most powerful and convincing truths and demonstrations that can be brought to bear or operate upon the human judgment. The mind instinctively repels everything, no difference how true or how beautiful, that conflicts with its long established opinions or convictions. The fires of truth usually require such time to burn their way through those incrustations of moral and religious error which often environ the human mind as the products of a false education, but when they once enter the work of convincement is complete. It has been stated that the resemblance between Christianity and the more ancient heathen systems is complete and absolute through all in their essential doctrines and principles and precepts, and if it shall be found on a critical reading of this work after it comes from the press that there is one feature of Christianity which has not been traced to pagan origin, or that any points of resemblance have omitted, they will be supplied in the appendix. And in order to see the appendix, you will have to get the book, okay? And we have like 2-3 more pages and we're done. It has been stated that the transfiguration is related of Krishna of India, which is 1200 years BC before Christ was even fathomed out of the air. Okay, in the Hindu Bible, the Bhagavata, yeah, the Bhagavat, yes, the Bhagavat, Gita, Gita, which is strikingly similar to that of Christ, We will present the proof. Abandoning the mortal form, he, Krishna, appeared to his disciples in all the divine eclat of his divine majesty, his brow encircled with such a brilliant light that Arjuna and the other disciples, unable to hear it, fell on their faces in the dust and prayed the Lord Krishna to pardon their unworthiness. He replied, "Have you not faith in me? Know ye not that where present or absent we are in the body, I will ever be present with you to guard and protect you?" And that is the Bhagavad Gita. That's right. How? And that's the Hindu Bible, okay? So you must remember that. And you want me to spell it out to you? That's Bhaghavat. Bhagavad Gita. Okay. How remarkable this is a story of Christ's transfiguration. Some readers perhaps will be surprised to observe that we have named so many crucified gods to whom some writers assign a different death, but we have followed, as we believe, the best authorities in doing so. In our work, The Bibles of Bibles, we have shown that the score of Bibles which have been extant in the world teach essentially the same doctrines, principles, and precepts. They are to be found in the old pagan Bibles in the same grand and beautiful truths, mixed up with the same mind enslaving errors and deleterious superstitions as those contained in the Christian Bible, and the same exalted claim is set up by the disciples of each for their presence, for their respective holy books, that of being a direct revelation from God and inspired at the foundation of infinite wisdom, and all were exalted, adored, and idolized by their respective admirers, and containing a perfect embodiment of truth without any admixture of error. The ancient Persians carried their Bibles in their bosoms and read them and prayed over them daily. The Hindus often read their Bible through on their bended knees and sometimes committed it to all memory, just like the Muslims do. With their Quran, the Bhagavad has the following text: "The most important of all duties is to study the Holy Scriptures, which is the word of Brahma and Krishna revealed to the world." Some of the Mohammedans, Muslims, claim that the immortal life can be only attained by reading the Quran, and that the reading of it is essential to the progress and practice of good morals to the world. Both they and the Hindus, like the Christian world, have numerous commentaries explaining the obscure texts of their Bibles and aiming to reconcile their teachings with reason and science. And the disciples of all the Bibles has a mode of doing away with the immoral teachings and concealing the worst features of their sacred books by bestowing them on a spiritual meaning, as Christians do theirs, thus dressing up error in the skies of truth. The Hindu Bible, the Mohammedan Bible, and other holy books co-sign those who disbelieve in their teachings to eternal damnation, denouncing them as infidels. In this respect, also they are like the Christian Bible. But then, after all, as some good pious Christians will probably exclaim after reading this book, the Bible and Christianity are essential to the progress of good morals and the advancement of the cause of civilization, and the civilized world will sink into a state of heathen darkness, demoralization, and savageism without them. For every enlightened nation owes its present moral and intellectual greatness to the Christian Bible and the Christian religion, and would relapse into barbarism without them. This is a mistake. In fact, if you look at it, I find Christianity and Islam some of the most barbaric religions. Why? Because they enslaved people. They enslaved a whole nation of a people and worked them to death for nothing. And they didn't get paid. And they were raped and they was hung and they was lynched and they were eunuched. Yeah, under the disguise of Christianity, under the religion of Islam. I'm just saying. So, is that a good religion? When the religion tells you to kill everybody that don't believe in the nonsense that they're handing you? I'm just saying. Why would God have to kill somebody to get them to convert to a religion? I'm just saying. People, meaning the believers of religions, they are not thinkers. Believers of religion are not thinkers. I'm just saying. And if you are a well-scripted believer, you can have anyone to follow you. Any dummy that don't have common sense. This is the age of intelligence. This is the age of intelligence. All of the information that is needed is at your fingertips on the computer. Yet and still, people still walk around here believing in Jesus and Muhammad. When it's all about segregation and control and making robots, will you be that robot that is deactivated and brought back to realization? And if religious, according to Christians and all of these religious people who say that we will go into savagism, what are we under now? Have you not watched the news? Have you not been paying attention to the world? Have you not been paying attention to Chicago, New York, LA, Kentucky, North Carolina? I'm just saying. It's crazy. There are heathen nations now existing who never saw a Bible, and others who flourished in the past before our Bible was written, who nevertheless attained to a higher state of morals and a higher state of civilization in some respects than any Christian nation known to history. A whole volume of facts might be adduced, if we had space for them, drawn from the ablest of the most reliable authorities to prove that India, Egypt, Greece, and other countries had reached a high state of civilization centuries before Christianity or any of its founders were even heard of or made their appearance in the world. India, distinguished from her teaming, her laws, her legislations, her civil courts, her judicial tribunals, her astronomers, her poets, her philosophers, her writers, her moralists, her libraries, her men of literature, and her good morals were before Moses was founded in the bulb bushes. I'm just saying. Jacqueline says, Jacqueline. If you don't know who Jacqueline is, look him up. JACOLLIOT. Says India gave civilization to the world. Eh, eh. Egypt borrowed of India. The Greeks of the Egyptians, and the Jews and the Christians are indebted to the Greeks for both their morals and their civilizations. Now that's what Jacqueline says. And we know that Jacqueline is very erroneous. And when you look at these authorities on writings, you really have to know what you know. You have to know what you know in order to discredit that. Just like you would have to read and study the Bible in order to discredit it. If you read and study any religious literature and you don't discredit it, or you don't disagree with at least some of the things that's in the book, I would say that you are just stupid. Just stupid. Okay? Dubois, a Christian missionary, in his Memoirs of India, testifies that kindness, justice, humanity, good faith, compassion, disinterestedness, and in fact nearly all the moral virtues were familiar to the ancient Brahmins and Hindus, and they taught them both by precept and example. Can as much be said of any Christian nation? Certainly not. And the Reverend D.O. Allen says they were distinguished from all of the parts of the refinement of civilized life, thus replacing them on the highest plane of civilization or moral elevation. And Mr. Reverend D.O. Allen, well, I think that if you study too, see, this is where you have to study who are the oldest people on this planet. Let's go there. It's not people from India. Who taught India how to build that which they build? That's all I'm saying. You can break down complexity with simple questions. Simple, basic questions. How long ago were the pyramids built? How long was the Twa people? The Twa people here, one of the most ancient people from Alkebulan, aka Africa, aka the homeland. There was no India around. I'm just saying. So you have to be well versed in history in order to give a great debate. If you're not equipped, well, maybe sometimes you have to strike back because you have falsehood representatives that may know a little bit more than you. But if you continue to study, you will be able to defeat them with simplicity. Simplicity. The same as with the Bible. If you ask simple questions, you can, some stories are just over with. Same as with the Quran, same as with the Bhagavad, same as with the Persian Bible, etc., etc., etc. And when we get off into the book entitled The Stolen Legacy, it's really going to blow your mind. And when we get to around page 180 in that book, that's when a lot of things, this one particular sentence will blow your mind. But we'll get to that. That's one of our another readings that's coming up. The book entitled The Stolen Legacy by George James. We're going to get off into that, okay? Well, we're going to finish this here with the Reverend D.O. Allen, okay? Egypt had her vast temples of science. Thank you, Dr. Reverend D.O. Allen. Thank you, Dr. Reverend D.O. Allen. Egypt had her vast and moral, it says Egypt had her vast temples of science, Chaldee her astronomical observatory, and Greece her distinguished academies of learning. Greece didn't. They stole it from Egypt when they invaded it. Alexander the Greek freak, okay? Her profound philosophers and her high-toned moral writers and moral teachers. I can't wait to get off to the book Stolen Legacy with you. Her profound philosophies and her high-toned moral writers and moral teachers, while the Jews, God's holy people, God's holy people, were in a state of semi-barbarianism. So affirms the Reverend Albert Barnes. Now, these are two authorities on Christendom and Jews, obviously, saying that Christianity came from Judaism. So did Islam. And the Judaism came from all of these other Oriental pagan religions that we've been reading about in the world's 16 crucified saviors. You cannot be defeated if you just wrote some of this stuff down. I'm just saying. Get the book. It's well worth it, okay? They were in a state of semi-barbarianism. No advancement has often been made in the moral of civilization in any country by the introduction of the Christian Bible or Christian religion. Once again, no advancement has often been made in the morals of civilization in any country by the introduction of the Christian Bible or the Christian religion. It is the arts and sciences which accompany or follow the Bible which do the work. A proof of this statement is found in the fact that no improvement takes place in the morals of the people by the introduction of the Bible till the arts and scientists are also introduced among them. On the contrary, the morals of many deteriorate. I got it right. On the contrary, the morals of many deteriorate by reading the Bible alone, because it sanctions as well as condemns every species of crime then known to society. For proof, see chapter 39, and we already went over this. Of this introduction of the Christian Bible is admitted by Reverend D.O. Allen again, for 25 years a missionary in that country. But science, especially moral science, imparts a different influence. It explains the nature of crimes and teaches and demonstrates that a life of honesty and virtue can alone produce true and real happiness. while the Bible augments the temptation to commit sin by teaching that it is a sweet morsel to be rolled under the tongue. So it's tasteful. Huh? And it is punitive effects may be entirely escaped by an act of divine forgiveness, meaning that sin atoning mediator, the sin atoning mediator, you all have really got to use that. I have incorporated that into my vocabulary, okay? But science, either directly or by enlightening the mind, teaches and convinces the wrongdoer that there is no escape from the evil effects of a wrong or wicked act, and that sin is not a sweet morsel, but ultimately a bitter pill. And thus it arrests the demoralizing effects of this pernicious doctrine of the Christian Bible. It may startle some of the Bible devotees to be told that their sacred book, instead of being a prompter to civilization and good morals, is really a hindrance to those ends, and that consequently nations without Bibles advance faster in these respects than those who are well supplied with this book. But the facts of the history seems to establish this as a fact. As a proof, we will contrast the present condition of heathen Japan with that of Christian Abyssinia. It's interesting. Colonel Hall and Dr. Oliphant both testify that no drunkenness, no fighting, no quarreling, no thefts, no fraudulent dealings took place or take place in Japan. This is the 19th century that we're talking about in this book now. But the 19th century really wasn't too long ago. Just think about 1999. Look at this book. Anyway, right? No locks or keys are used, for none are needed. There is no disposition to steal or even to cheat or overreach in dealing, but in Christian Abyssinia, on the other hand, according to Mr. Goodrich, where Bibles and churches are numerous and preaching and praying are heard every day, nearly all the crimes above enumerated are daily committed. The people go naked, eat raw flesh, cheat, lie, and murder, and practice polygamy. Sound like what we do here, right? The Christian nation. The people go naked, eat raw fish, cheat, lie, and murder, and practice polygamy. Such a thing as a legitimate child, he tells us, is not known, and thus it has been for 1,500 years, while the daily practice of reading their Bible, the arts in 100 years, while they daily practice of reading their Bible. Y'all read that so you can understand that, okay? The arts and the scientists have never been introduced amongst them. And this fact explains the cause of their continued moral degradation. Think about it before we go on to this last paragraph. When you study the history of Egypt and of Africa, because Egypt is part of Africa, we didn't have jails. We didn't have prisons. There was no need for them. We were a civilized people. And if you think that this world in which we're living in today, under the rule of the current rulers, if you think we're living in a civilized world, you are wrong. We have degenerated. We have degenerated from common sense, from common respect, because we have been taught demoralization. In Caucasian culture, they teach you to disrespect people. That's part of their culture. In Caucasian culture, you will find there's a thirst and a need to shed blood. There's a thirst and a need for prisons. There is a thirst and a need for hunger and starvation and homelessness in the Caucasian world. We didn't have homelessness over in Kemet and Africa. We didn't have homelessness. I'm just saying. When you read your religious books, you are reading about a world that no longer exists or never existed. Think about it. Your religious books and those prophets that were in those books, what do you think their outcome would be today if they were in the world in which we live in today? What would be those prophets whom you say as prophets? What would be their outcome today? Will they still be killed? Yes, assassinated would be the word. If they really would exist. But if you study that, you would find and seeing that all of them died, that means that with the exception of Elijah and Elisha and maybe Enoch, who just got, caught up in the whirlwind and went to heaven or something. But without those three, even Jesus himself was crucified. So he didn't make it either. He didn't make it either. And he was supposed to be God's own son, and God left him there to die, to be chastised, punished, pierced, struck, beat to death, and then crucified, nailed in his hands and in his feet. I'm just saying. And then nobody see him resurrect. But you believe that. Okay. Now, in this last paragraph here, according to Noah Webster, the cultivation of the arts and sciences is essential to the progress of civilization and good morals. But Bible religion knows nothing about the arts and sciences. Jesus didn't know either, obviously did. We just showed you his buffoonery, examples and errors in chapter 40, 41, 42. Okay? So thoroughly convinced were the early disciples of the Christian faith that the teachings of their Bible are inimical to the arts and sciences, that they destroyed works of art wherever they could find them, and oppose with a deadly aim every new discovery of the sciences, as Bibles represent only the moral and state of society in the age in which they are written, and are not allowed to be altered or transcended, which that is non-true because you have so many versions of these books. They thus hold their disciples back in all coming time and compel them to teach and practice the morals of that semi-barbarous age as found and taught in their Bibles. And thus, Bibles prevent the moral growth of the people as effectually as the Chinese wooden shoes prevent the growth of the feet. Did you hear that? I want to say that again. And thus, Bibles prevent the moral growth of the people as effectually as the Chinese wooden shoes prevent the growth of the feet. For a further exposition of this matter, see the Bibles of Bibles, chapter 14. And that, my fans, my friends, that is the complete book of the world's 16 crucified saviors. And I tell you, if you have not learned anything, if you have not had that light bulb pop up at the top of your head, that means that you are just plain stupid. And I would just have to call you a nigger, seeing that nigger means ignorant. Whether you're a black nigger, white nigger, Chinese nigger, Puerto Rican nigger, Japanese nigger, Indian nigger, whatever nigger you are, meaning being an ignorant person and did not get anything out of these 30 videos containing 45 chapters of the world's 16 crucified Savior. And yes, I got to add chapter 30 in this video, so I just got to edit it out, go back and edit it. But yeah, this is the final chapter we have done, and thanks for viewing, you all. It is your brother, the MOPOWERZ, where knowledge is power. Remember, it is your third eye that makes you shine like jewelry. And if you haven't done so already, press that subscribe button and view the videos. Hit the like, hit the share, hit the notification bell, and go over to my other 3 channels. Yes, I have 3 more channels. Yes, the THEMOSHOW Chicago, THEMOSHOW Classics, all one word, no space. And if you're into easy listening music, relaxing music, go over to my new page entitled Mo Vibrations, MO space Vibrations. Mo Vibrations is the only page that has a space between the words, okay? Everything else is all one word, no spaces. And do the same thing on those pages. Like, share, subscribe, notification bell, okay? Thanks for viewing, you all. And by all means, don't ever, ever give up on your dreams. Thanks for viewing.